Every real estate empire you've ever heard of, every investor with a portfolio of hundreds of units, started at exactly the same level as everyone else. Zero properties, and usually, not much money. The path from there to an actual empire follows a surprisingly consistent set of stages, and almost nobody skips levels. Here's every single one of them. Level 0. You own no real estate. You're renting, your monthly housing payment builds zero equity, and every dollar you pay your landlord is gone permanently. This isn't a failure state. It's simply where everyone starts, including people who eventually own hundreds of units. The only meaningful task at level 0 is saving enough for a down payment on your first property, which brings us to the strategy almost every real estate investor actually starts with. Level 1. House hacking. This is the single most common entry point into real estate investing, and it's specifically designed to get around the biggest obstacle beginners face, which is that a large down payment. Using an FHA loan, you can buy a small multi-unit property, a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, with as little as 3.5% down, as long as you live in one of the units yourself. You collect rent from the other units, which covers most or all of your mortgage, effectively letting you live for free or close to it, while a tenant pays down your mortgage and builds your equity for you. Someone buying a $200,000 duplex this way might put down only $7,000, an amount plenty of people can actually save, compared to the $40,000 a conventional 20% down payment on the same property would require. Level 2. Your first pure rental property. Once you've built some equity and saved additional capital, usually by continuing to live below your means, the next step is acquiring a property you don't live in at all, a single-family home or small property purchased purely as a rental. This is where investors first calculate two numbers that matter for the rest of their real estate career: cap rate, which measures a property's yearly return based purely on its price, and cash-on-cash return, which measures your actual return based on the cash you personally put in, accounting for the mortgage. A property generating 8% cash-on-cash return is generally considered a solid, if unspectacular, single rental. Level 3. 2 to 4 properties, the accumulation phase. This is where a specific, very popular strategy shows up constantly. BRRRR, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. You buy a distressed property below market value, renovate it to increase its value, rent it out to tenants, then refinance based on the new, higher appraised value, pulling most or all of your original cash back out, which you then use to repeat the entire process on the next property. Done successfully, BRRRR lets an investor scale from one property to several using largely the same initial capital, recycled again and again, rather than needing fresh savings for every single purchase. Level 4. 5 to 10 properties, where almost every growing investor hits the exact same wall. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the government-backed entities behind most conventional mortgages, cap any individual borrower at 10 conventional mortgages total. This isn't a rare edge case. It's an extremely well-known ceiling in the real estate investing world, and it forces every investor who wants to keep growing past this point to shift entirely away from conventional bank financing. The solutions at this level are portfolio loans, offered by smaller local and regional banks that hold the loans on their own books instead of selling them to Fannie or Freddie, and commercial loans, which are underwritten based on the property's income rather than the borrower's personal finances. Level 5. The business phase. Somewhere between 10 and 25 units, real estate investing stops being a side project you manage yourself on evenings and weekends, and starts requiring actual business infrastructure. This is typically where investors hire a property management company, usually costing 8 to 10% of collected rent, to handle tenant screening, maintenance calls, and rent collection. It's also common to restructure ownership at this level into an LLC or several LLCs, specifically to separate personal assets from the liability risk that comes with being a landlord to dozens of tenants across multiple properties. Level 6. Commercial multifamily and syndications, typically 50 units and beyond. At this scale, the math changes completely because buildings this large are usually too expensive for any single investor to purchase alone, even a successful one. This is where syndications come in. A lead investor, called the general partner or sponsor, finds and manages the deal, while a group of passive investors, called limited partners, contribute the actual capital in exchange for a share of the profits, without doing any of the day-to-day work themselves. This structure is exactly how investors who've never personally purchased more than a handful of doors on their own can suddenly find their name attached to a 200-unit apartment complex. They're not buying it alone. They're using other people's money, structured legally and transparently, to control assets far larger than their personal capital alone could ever purchase. Level 7. The empire, where a specific tax strategy becomes central to everything, the 1031 exchange. Named after the relevant section of the tax code, a 1031 exchange lets an investor sell an appreciated property and roll the entire proceeds into a new, larger property, completely deferring the capital gains tax that would normally be owed on the sale. Do this repeatedly over a career, continually trading up into larger properties using the same original capital, tax deferred every single time. And it's genuinely possible to grow from a single $7,000 down payment on a duplex into a portfolio worth tens of millions of dollars, without ever paying capital gains tax along the way, only ever paying it, if at all, once, decades later, on the final sale, or never, if the properties are instead passed down to heirs who inherit them, at their current market value with the embedded gains erased entirely. Let's actually follow one investor through every level with real numbers attached, because the abstract stages make a lot more sense with a concrete dollar trail behind them. She starts at level 0 renting an apartment for $1,400 a month. She saves $7,000 over about a year and a half, and house hacks a duplex, level 1, living in one side while a tenant's rent covers 80% of her mortgage. 3 years later, with equity built up and additional savings, she buys her first pure rental, level 2, a single-family home generating around $300 a month in positive cash flow. Over the next 4 years, using BRRRR, level 3, she turns that one rental into 4 properties, recycling the same initial capital each time instead of saving fresh down payments from scratch. By property number 7, she hits the Fannie Mae 10 loan ceiling, level 4, and switches to a local portfolio lender to keep acquiring. At 12 units, she hires her first property manager, level 5, freeing up the 20 or so hours a week she was spending on tenant calls and maintenance coordination. A decade after that first duplex, she joins a syndication as a general partner on an 80-unit apartment complex, level 6, raising capital from 20 passive investors rather than buying it entirely herself. And from there, a series of 1031 exchanges, level 7, lets her keep trading up into larger properties for another decade without ever triggering a capital gains tax bill along the way. It's worth understanding the actual economics of that syndication step in a bit more detail because the numbers there work differently than a simple rental. In a typical real estate syndication, limited partners contribute the capital and usually receive a preferred return first, commonly somewhere around 7 or 8% annually, before any profits are split further. After that preferred return is paid, remaining profits are typically split somewhere around 70-30 or 80-20 between the limited partners and the general partner who sourced, negotiated, and manages the deal. This is exactly why sponsors are motivated to find genuinely strong deals rather than mediocre ones. Their own payday is directly tied to performance well above that initial preferred return threshold, not just to closing the transaction. It's worth being honest that this path isn't fast, and it isn't guaranteed. Real estate investing carries genuine risk at every level. Tenants who stop paying, unexpected repairs, interest rate changes that affect refinancing, and entire markets that can decline in value for years at a time. The investors who successfully reach level 6 or 7 didn't get there through a single lucky purchase. They got there by successfully repeating the same fundamentals, property after property, for 10, 20, sometimes 30 years, while also surviving the inevitable bad tenants and bad markets along the way without giving up. If seeing every actual stage of building a real estate portfolio laid out clearly changed how you think about that very first property purchase, that's exactly what this channel exists to do. Take financial paths that sound complicated from the outside and break them down into the real, sequential steps underneath. Like and subscribe for the next one.